In a village 17 kilometres west of Bakhmut, Ukraine's military digs new trenches. A suggestion, perhaps, that this could be a new line of defence.
We are leaving. We remained until the very last. We wanted to stay, but how can we? It's time to go.
As the last remaining residents leave, Ukraine's soldiers move in. The Ukrainian government says it's not withdrawing from Bakhmut.
The Russians don't count losses, neither personnel nor military vehicles. They push. To take Bakhmut is a matter of principle for them. And for us, it's a matter of principle to defend it. It's not just a city, it's a symbol, a fortress of Bakhmut.
The strategic value of Bakhmut is far outweighed by its symbolic value. Russian forces have been waging an intense campaign for months to seize control of the small city they call Artyomovsk. If they take it, it'll become the Russians' first significant territorial advance in more than 6 months.
The
liberation of Artyomovsk continues. The city is an important hub for defending Ukrainian troops in the Donbass. Taking it under control will allow further offensive actions to be conducted deep into Ukraine's defensive lines.
Russia says it's annexed nearly a fifth of Ukrainian territory. Moscow's forces have made clear gains around Bakhmut, but elsewhere, the Russian winter offensive hasn't yielded territory in other major assaults further north and south along the front line. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
Let's bring in journalist Yulia Shapovalova. She's joining us by Skype from Moscow. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. As Bernard was explaining there, Bakhmut is an industrial town, but strategically not said to be that important. Why is it so symbolic for Russian forces to take control there?
Yes, that's according to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and that was his actually quote that he said that Bakhmut had more of a symbolic rather than strategic value. Well, it is symbolic. It is symbolic, and as you mentioned before, President Zelenskyy and the command of the armed forces of Ukraine, Zaluzhny and Syrsky, command of the ground forces, who had just visited Bakhmut, they decided not to surrender Bakhmut, but on the contrary, taking advantage of disagreements in the command of the Russian army to strike back, and not only to actually unblock Bakhmut, but also to defeat the main Russian strike force, the Wagner Group, who are left without cover, replenishment, and the necessary amount of ammunition. That's according to its head. Mr. Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, called his situation a pirozhok, or the pie, when Wagner has already almost blocked the armed forces of Ukraine in Bakhmut, and the armed forces of Ukraine are preparing to block Wagner itself with fresh brigades. And such a scenario can be prevented if Wagner resumes interaction with General Gerasimov, the commander of the Russian special military operation. However, the interaction, on the contrary, has been completely interrupted, according to Prigozhin, at the initiative of Gerasimov. So here we can see a very strong rift between Mr. Prigozhin and the bosses of the Russian armed forces. But the significance of the battle, of the Battle of Bakhmut again increased massively as the armed forces of Ukraine will defend themselves here to the end, and the Russians are not going to give up either.
Yulia, one of the things that is fascinating to those of us watching this situation from outside is the fact that Yevgeny Prigozhin seems to be able to make such public criticism of the senior figures within the military with virtual impunity, with absolutely no comeback whatsoever. And that seems very strange at a time of conflict, when one would expect the military and those working in and around the military to try to be cohesive. How is it that he is able to make these very public statements?
Yeah, interesting, isn't that? Because actually, yes, he's allowed to say a little bit more than the rest of us here, because, you know, if an ordinary person starts criticizing the special military operation here in Russia, they can be, you know, put in jail for quite a, hefty number of years. So there is, as they've been said many times, that there is a rift between Yevgeny Prigozhin and the Russian armed forces, but just not only with them, because we see a lot of Yevgeny Prigozhin on the internet. We read his Telegram channel, and we see all those criticisms, not just towards the army, but also to addressed to the mayor of St. Petersburg, for instance, and people who are standing behind him. And it means that we are witnessing some sort of internal power struggle when all those groups and alliances and factions starting to, fight with each other and, for some sort of for a fair share of power, for a fair share of, Mother Russia and its wealth. And at the helm of all that, we have Mr. Putin, who's very effectively holding back all those wonderful people and basically controlling this rivalry. And by that, I mean, by those wonderful people, I mean, of course, the representatives of the Siloviki or the security services like the FSB, police, National Guard and other people. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Yulia, we can.
Excuse
Thank
me?
you.
Oh, sorry, because there's something wrong with the connection.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yulia, I tell you what, we're just going to leave it there because we are having a few problems with the connection. But Yulia Shapovalova, thank you very much indeed for talking to us from Moscow. Thank you.
Thank you.